Wilderness Innovation. Real survival kits. Survival shelter. Simplifying survival at wildernessinnovation.com.
This is Perry Peacock with Wilderness Innovation, and today I'd like to talk to you about another edible, Juniper, right up here. So let's take a look at what we can do with this for edibles. Alright, let's take a look up close at this. These Juniper. All these, they're kind of a bluish berry. It has a, they have kind of a white powdery coating on them. When you wipe that off, it's kind of bluish or green down inside of there. And these berries have kind of a seed in the middle that you can eat out all around it. And some of these you find are somewhat bitter, and others you find are not all that bad. They're definitely, you wouldn't be making a pie out of them. They're not that good. But they're not bad, and these are very nutritious, good for you, help keep you alive, these juniper berries. And these trees out here, usually where you find junipers, you find a bunch of trees, and this whole hillside right here is full of these. Literally thousands and thousands of these berries on the trees. You can make them a little more palatable, especially if they're more bitter, by pounding them down a little bit with a stone and then boiling them a little bit. That'll take out some of the bitterness, make them a little more palatable in case they're not. These are a tiny bit bitter, but these aren't really too bad. I've tasted worse. I've tasted some that you can't hardly bite into. But anyway, I mean, this is a good tree for if you can find it, to help at least keep you alive temporarily. Another nice thing about the juniper trees and stuff that you find out in the West, we find a lot of them, they're large trees like this. Some places they're just smaller bushes. But aside from all the berries and all that sort of thing, the wood is very good for fire. As you can see, like the interior of this tree is all dried little twigs and stuff like this. These are excellent for fire starting. You can see all the bark on there just kind of very fine and peels off. So if you get a bunch of twigs of this, that little bark that's on there is just kind of a ready-made igniter for these things. And so you see there's limbs like this and tons of dried stuff like this that's on the inside of the tree, with all kinds of bark like this. It makes just excellent tinder. That stuff will just explode into flame. Very nice. And on up to bigger stuff and everything. Another thing about the tree is the bark, which sometimes, if you're careful and get in some places here. See here, I just peeled off a 3-foot long strip of bark. Now that bark can be used, we'll do some other videos on this later, but you can actually take this bark and you can get strips of it like this. You can weave it into mats or door coverings. You can use this bark and kind of fluff it up in a pile underneath you to sleep on, to keep you up off the cold ground. You can use this bark woven into the roof of a shelter as thatching. And believe me, you can get a lot of that bark off this tree, these trees like this. This bark just hangs off here. It's just kind of the nature of how the tree grows. You can also take this bark and strip it down into fibers, and you can make kind of a crude rope. You can actually weave this into sandals and such things as that, or even you could even make a kind of kind of a, what would you call it, kind of a poncho, kind of a covering you could actually weave up out of this stuff. If you find this, you've got quite a bit of resources for a survival situation. So you see, here's more of this bark. This whole tree, just the nature of the tree, this bark just grows like this and just peels off. And you see in like about 30 seconds I can have more than enough of this for a fabulous bird nest for getting a fire started. Also notice how this bark it's very fine in here, and because of the ragged nature of it, it just catches all kinds of small debris and little furry, hairy little stuff in here, and all that stuff to just excellent fire starter. If you peel it off, like look at this right here. That right there, and I keep on going up this way. I just peeled off a 6 or 7 foot long strip of bark here. Another thing you could do with this bark like this is you can pound it down and strip it out and kind of soften a little bit. You could stuff that down, and when you pound it down real good, so it's kind of more fibery, you could stuff it in your clothing or hat or whatever, in your sleeves, stuff it around your chest and back or whatever for some extra insulation. Anything to create a little bit of some loft and trap some air. Obviously this isn't the best deal, but it may be better than what you have. And so there is just a ton of uses for the juniper tree. Today this is really, we're just talking about edibles, but since I'm here I couldn't help. I got too darn excited and I just started talking about everything else. I only wanted to talk about edibles here. Oh, one other thing I forgot about on edibles. If you get into the tree here and you start getting into the white inner bark, the white inner bark can be pounded down, and once you start kind of stripping down into here, you can peel some of that off and pound it down. It's not the best, but it actually is full of nutrients, and it can stave off starvation for a period of time. So anyway, there's a little bit about the juniper tree and some of the survival values and some of the things you can do with it. I think, you'd find yourself able to do it quite a bit if you find yourself a stand of junipers. This Perry Peacock with your Wilderness Edibles. Have a great day.